in the year. So, because it's nice and cool, it's not too hot, unlike the baking heat we've had over the past couple of weeks. But where are we in the world?
So we are actually towards the sort of north end of the Lake District, sort of on the border of what we would consider the English versus Scottish part of our map. And yeah, as you can see, Ralph already mentioned it, but it's a radically different visual to obviously the winter that we showed you last week. So all of the leaves have started to return to some of the trees, some have sort of stayed skeletal and sort of give you that really nice difference in the silhouette interest in the world that is very specific to spring. We've also got loads more moisture sort of ambiently in the world, so it's our wettest season in Britain. That's represented in games. So you get a lot of that standing water, lots of the tumble mud that we talked about in autumn, but also the lighting model is also now updated with all the sky catchers that we got from the spring season in real life. So you get a slightly higher sun arc than you would in winter, so the days are slightly longer. You get a little bit more brightness generally to the environment. And also you get all these really lovely pops of colour, so you get all the wildflowers that start to carpet the woodland, all the trees start to explode with little blossoms.
We know how much you love trees.
I do love the trees, yeah. But yeah, it's a very fresh visual, and I think that's the thing for me that really typifies spring in Britain, is that really fresh, crisp feel. And most of that comes from the excellent lighting work that the guys have done upstairs.
I just noticed Andy just took his wing mirror out. It was just kind of like, that doesn't need that going around in spring. So we have seen like the big changes of like all the seasons over the past 4 weeks. One of the big things I want to know is how's that going to continue to change from after the launch of the game?
Yeah, that's a great question, because the last 4 weeks we've been showing kind of what the first 4 weeks, I guess, will be like when the game launches later this year. Everyone in the community will be taken through these seasons sequentially, just like in real life. But I think, and we mentioned this at E3, our commitment, I think, from this team to the people who are going to play the game is that the changes don't stop there. It's not just the 4 seasons will change in the ways we've seen over the last couple of weeks. The game is going to keep changing after launch as we continue to support it, as we continue to create new content for it, create new features for it, add stuff to the game. And really the point behind the seasons, their transitions, the timing, that weekly cadence of seasons post-launch is so that we can continue to deliver amazing stuff to this game. Some stuff that we have planned, some stuff I think that will come from feedback from the community post-launch, and not just for months, but I think for years after this game ships.
Yeah, which is really exciting as well. It's kind of like getting the community feedback and seeing what they want as well. Which is why as well, if you're watching on Mixer, remember, get involved, ask any questions you have for Ralph or Ben about spring or anything to do with Forza Horizon 4. We can answer them right here and now. But also, last week we took a look at the winter map. And I know we also have the spring map, which is going to go out on the Forza Motorsport social channels. So it's at Forza Motorsport and also at Forza Motorsport official on Instagram.
So worth looking at here, I think. I don't think we've shown the forest just yet. If Andy keeps driving and maybe goes a little bit off the track, I think there's probably an interesting thing. Definitely for people who have played Horizon games before, for people that have played Horizon 3 in particular, we've had a lot of feedback on how to put it, tree language, I guess, or smashable language, we call it in the studio. It's something that we've actually worked on a great deal in this game. Basically, the feedback from 3 is that you don't know as you're approaching a tree if it's going to break or if it's going to stop you dead. And that gets pretty frustrating. That's something that we have spent a lot of time during this game working on. We've worked on a system whereby hopefully, and I think you can probably see it here, the thickness of trees is very clear as you're driving, even through a thick forest like this one, so that you always have a pretty good confidence level as to what's going to break when your car hits it and what's actually going to kind of break your car when you hit it. And as a result, and I'm going to challenge Andy to prove me right now, which might be a mistake, it's actually much easier to drive through wooded areas, even through dense forests like this, if you compare it maybe to the rainforest from Forza Horizon 3, which was a pretty perilous place to try and drive through. I think most people ended up just taking the roads through it. It's actually much clearer and much more readable as a player in Horizon 4. So that's something, it's kind of low level, but it's something that we're pretty proud of, and I think players will appreciate when they really get into the game.
Yeah, it does look incredible as well. It's so much fun as well. Like all the trees, all the kind of like spring colours popping out. and just being able to kind of traverse through that world, because I know I was guilty of that in Forza Horizon 3. Every time going through a rainforest, I just hit a tree dead, hit my rewind as much as possible and try and find that perfect route through. So quite excited to try this out. But what else can people pick up with Spring, Ben?
With Spring, well, so I kind of already talked a lot about what.
You know, you got all the colour. I saw the snowy mountain peaks in the distance.
Well, that's true, yeah. So actually, you do get a bit of residual snow that sort of it recedes back up into the very peaks of the highest areas of the map. So you still get areas where there's a little bit of snow happening here and there. Also, like I know this is the sort of thing that I would personally get very excited about, Benny, as you know. But all the greens are a specific type of green. So Spring has like we actually went out with colour scanners and scanned all the values of all the leaves from the trees at different seasons, and they're much fresher and they don't sort of go to that sort of darker value of green, which again lifts everything up and makes everything feel slightly more fresh than summer, where everything becomes much more mature and also much more lush in the environment.
Right, well, Ben, thank you very much for talking to us as well. I know you're going to be returning in a little bit, but I think it is now time to